Welcome back, amigos. Welcome back to another Taco Chop Shop installment. Today we're going to show you how to make a mirrored bend, make them look identical. So what we did first is we tack welded the ends of this 3/16 rod together. And what we're going to do is we're going to hold it up to the truck here, and we're going to mark with our Sharpie where we want our first bend to do. So you can go through and try to, you can bend one piece at a time and then get another piece and try to bend it so that it matches. But if you're like me and time is of the essence, you are always trying to do things faster. So by tacking two together, what you can do is you can bend them at the same time. And by bending them at the same time, you're going to have identical bends. So this works when you're working left to right or trying to mirror something on the top of your rig. This really helps out and really speeds up the process. So what I did here is I marked the rod, and I'm going to put it back into my bender, and I have my reference point of where I want the bend to start, and in reference to where the end of the pipe or the rod goes on like the rocker panel of the truck there. So I'm going to lock it down, and I'm going to bend it into approximately to the right angle. And remember, when you're working with steel, you actually want to go just a little bit past what your 100% perfect is, because the steel will actually spring back into location. So we're going to bring this out a little bit, and we're going to work a little bit at a time. So, and the thing that's really important is you want to try to keep it as parallel as possible to your table. That way you don't get any twisting going. And as you can see here, once I started bending, the end of the rod still stayed together. So there's no, they're not splitting apart or anything like that. So we have two identical bends. So now what I'm going to do is I got to put it up there, and I'm going to mark the second bend on where that goes so I could follow the wheel well. These wheel wells are, I don't know if these are easier or harder to do than some of the other ones. The radius ones might be hard, but if you have something to bend the radius over, or actually have a radius bender or a roller, it can be easy. But these ones I'm going to try to kind of square off to make it look like the actual opening on the wheels. This particular truck, it's a Tri-5 era truck, it has kind of a squared off look, and just the radius of the pipe will actually give me that look. So I think we're going to be all right here. So now what I did is I flipped it over, and I'm going to bend it almost to a 90 at this point, because we're basically making the tabletop of this wheel well. So I'm going to bend it almost to a 90 of where we're at for the first bend, and we'll see where we end up. So sometimes it's a little bit of a dance. Sometimes you got to go a little bit and then come a little bit back. So here's a quick little tip. So on this one, I bent it, and I got a little bit too happy with it, I think, and it went just a little bit further than what I needed to. So you can kind of see that already. It kind of goes downhill, and I'm like, oh, what do I do now? So I have these holes drilled out in my table, and they're for clamps and things like that. And so what I do is I put my pipe on the radius in the hole, and I can actually bend it back the direction I need to go and relieve some of that angle that I just did. So as long as you put it right back on there, you can kind of bring it back. You kind of have it's kind of like you only have so many saves, right? Like if you work on design programs or whatever, you used to only have 5 undos or whatever, and it's kind of the same way with steel. If you undo it a couple times, you'll start to see some distortion where you'll see some kinks and stuff like that. And so you want to kind of get as close as you can on the first couple tries, because any more than back and forth a few more times, you're going to start seeing it in the metal. So we saved it there, and now we're on to the next one. So now we're on to the down bend, and you can see at the end of this pipe, they don't have to be, or the end of this rod, you don't have to be perfect on the length because you're tacking them together. So as long as you have 2 of them and they're end to end, at some point you can tack it together and let it rip. So just, you always have to remember too, is that if you're not used to doing this, like maybe you're watching this and you're just trying to get into metal fabricating on tiny trucks, It's not going to be perfect your first time, and it's not going to be perfect your first 5 trucks. You might be one of those ultra perfectionists where maybe you'll take the time and do it, but in my eyes, it's kind of like, you know, what all those YouTube guys say is that they say, just do it, you know, just get out there and make it. And if the more you make, the better you're going to get. So that's kind of the way I look at it when it comes to these tiny trucks. The more you actually do it, the more you're going to get experience and understand the material. And, you know, as a fabricator, to be honest, most of what makes you good is how you can recover from mistakes, because you're always going to make mistakes. So for me, I'm always like, okay, so how can I fix this if I mess it up? So once you learn how to do that, then it makes you a much better fabricator. And, you know, sometimes your mistakes won't be the same mistakes that people see, but you just know them in your head. So, you know, I don't think I've, like on this particular truck, it kind of is exaggerated here when you look at it from the back of that truck, the back of it, but the passenger side is a little bit wider than the driver's side with the tube work. It's not as drastic as it shows on the camera there, but I know it's there and it drives me crazy. But, you know, it's still going to look cool once it's all done, and you can hide it with different angles and, you know, the fancy pieces you add onto it. And that's the thing, you know, once you get your base, that's what's fun, I think, when you're building these, when you get your kind of foundation, your base rods laid down, then you get to go in and do all the detail work. And the detail work is really what sets it apart. And so, you know, take your time and get the foundation part done, but when you get the detail part, that's when you can really get creative with it. So what are some of the tiny truck fab things that you run into that are scary to you or that you have problems with? Drop a comment and let me know, and maybe I can make a video that kind of addresses some of these things. You know, getting back to that just doing kind of a thing, I think that's a big help is when you start getting that experience. But, you know, I know there's some things that people don't even know, like, where do I start? And, you know, showing this, like I'm showing now, how it is a perfect mirror image to the other side, is a little tip that I don't think people, you know, they're like, oh, I got to make all these bends and I got to make them perfect and I got to make them match up, all that kind of thing. You know, at the end of the day, it's art, the way I look at it. And if it's not perfect, it's art, it's your creativity. You're doing it, other people aren't. So don't beat yourself up over it. Just get the practice. But yeah, I'm interested, you know, if you guys have something that, you know, you'd like to see done or you'd like to get help with, let me know. We got a lot of builds coming up. We've got to finish this build. We've got the SCX6 build. We've got the Rupacabra build. I'm sure there's going to be a moon buggy build at some point and another scale rail build. So stay tuned for a lot of new stuff. We're going to cut this piece apart right now, so we have 2 separate pieces. Remember, always wear your gear, apron, gloves, shield whenever you're cutting. Normally I put sleeves on, but I was feeling extra manly today and I didn't put sleeves on. But I've seen tons of these wheels blow up and, you know, hurt people. So and those are scary when those wheels blow up. So always pay attention to those. Treat every tool like this, like it can tear your face off, because it can. And, you know, keep all your digits. I've been doing this for a long time now, not just tiny trucks, but all kinds of fabs. So we try to do everything to mitigate accidents. So always do that. One quick tip too, when you turn off your grinder or your cutoff wheel, I always put it wheel up, so when you turn it back or you plug it back in, it doesn't go running away from you, or it gives you that extra second. So here we go. Here's those 2 mirrored image. Hope you guys like this video. If you do, you know what to do. Hit that like button, subscribe, share it. Thanks for your time, guys.